Hey everyone! Welcome to the show. I'm Emma, and I'm so happy you're here today. How are you doing? I hope you're having a wonderful day, because we have a really exciting topic that I believe can change your English learning journey forever. Today, we're talking about how to train your brain to think in English and stop translating from your native language. Now, let me ask you, have you ever found yourself translating everything in your head before you say it in English? Yeah, I used to do that too. Honestly, it made me feel stuck and slow when I was speaking. Let me tell you a little story. When I first started learning English, I would think every sentence in Spanish first. I'd have it all perfect in my head in Spanish, and then I would try to translate it word by word into English. Guess what happened? It was so frustrating. I'd get halfway through a sentence and just forget what I wanted to say. And even when I managed to say something, it sounded strange because Spanish and English have very different ways of expressing ideas. I remember one day, I was trying to have a simple conversation at a coffee shop, and I froze. Completely. I couldn't find the English words fast enough, and I ended up smiling awkwardly and just nodding. I went home feeling so embarrassed. But that moment actually changed everything for me. I realized that if I wanted to be fluent, I had to start thinking directly in English, not Spanish first, then English. It wasn't easy at the beginning. It felt like I was learning to walk again, but little by little, I made it. Today, I want to share with you some practical tips that helped me and that can help you to train your brain to think naturally in English. So if you're tired of feeling slow or stuck when you speak, stay with me. I'm going to walk you through it step by step. Let's dive in. So why is it so important to train your brain to think in English instead of always translating? Let's talk about that. First of all, and I say this from personal experience, when you translate, you slow yourself down a lot. You might know all the words, you might even know the grammar rules perfectly, but when you try to speak, it's like you're running a marathon with heavy chains on your legs. Every sentence feels heavy, slow, and sometimes, just painful. I used to wonder, why am I studying so hard, but I still can't speak easily? And the answer was simple. My brain was not trained yet to operate in English mode. I was still using Spanish as the middleman. Imagine every time you want to say something, you have to make a detour, first to Spanish, then back to English. It's exhausting, right? And in real conversations, you don't have that much time. People are speaking fast, asking you questions, expecting natural replies. You can't press pause and say, wait. Let me translate this in my head real quick. I remember one time I was invited to a dinner with some colleagues who spoke only English. I was so nervous because I knew if I tried to translate, I would get left behind in the conversation. And guess what happened? Exactly that. They were laughing, joking, moving from topic to topic so fast, and there I was, sitting quietly, smiling, nodding, but honestly feeling lost half the time. It hurt. It made me question if I would ever truly be fluent. But instead of giving up, I made a decision that night. No more translating. I wanted to think in English, dream in English, even argue in English if I had to. That night was a turning point for me. And maybe for you too, maybe you've had moments like that where you felt stuck, slow, or frustrated. If yes, let me tell you. It's not your fault. It's just a skill you haven't trained yet. And like every skill, whether it's riding a bike, cooking a new dish, or playing an instrument, it can be learned with the right steps and practice. Also, another thing I noticed is that thinking in English doesn't just make you faster, it makes you more confident. Because when you don't have to worry about translating every word, you can focus on expressing yourself, on having fun with the language. Your personality shines through. You can tell jokes, share ideas, make connections all naturally, all beautifully. And isn't that the goal? To speak English not like a robot that's translating, but like a real person who's living and feeling in the language? That's the kind of transformation I want for you. That's what today's episode is all about. Stick with me, because next, I'm going to share some super practical ways you can start rewiring your brain today, not tomorrow, not next year, today, to think in English faster and more naturally. I want you to really understand this, because when you understand it clearly, you'll know how to fix it. You see, The brain is kind of like a computer, but way more complicated and way more emotional. When you're learning a second language, your brain wants to take the safe route. It wants to use what it already knows, your native language, as the base. So what it does is hear English, quickly translate it into your native language, understand it, then think of the answer in your native language, then try to translate it back into English, then speak. Phew. That's a lot of steps, right? No wonder it feels slow and tiring. And here's the tricky part. The more you practice translating, the stronger that habit becomes. It's like digging a path in the forest. The more you walk on the same path, the deeper and easier that path becomes. Your brain says, "Oh, you want me to always go through translation? Okay, I'll make that super easy for you." But what we really want is a new path, a direct path. You hear English, boom, you understand it directly in English. You want to speak, boom, you form the sentence in English automatically. No middleman. No Spanish, no Chinese, no French in between. Just English. When I realized this, it honestly changed everything for me. Because before, I used to think, maybe I'm just not smart enough. Or, maybe it's because I didn't grow up speaking English. But no, it wasn't an intelligence issue. It was simply a habit issue. My brain was trained to translate because that's how I practiced. I was making the wrong path stronger without even knowing it. And the good news: if you can create a habit, you can also break a habit and build a new one. It's like switching from one road to another. Yes, at first, the new road feels rocky and uncomfortable. You might struggle. You might make mistakes. You might feel slow. But every time you try to think directly in English, even if it's just one sentence, you are clearing that new path a little bit more. You are telling your brain, hey, this is the new way we do things now. And slowly, but surely, it becomes easier. You reach a point where you don't even think about thinking, you just speak. You just understand. And that feeling, that moment when you realize you're not translating anymore, it's amazing. It feels like you're finally free. Like you've unlocked a superpower inside you. And guess what? You can start working toward that feeling today. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent. There are some real, simple techniques you can use to start building that direct English path in your mind. I'm going to share some actual examples from my own journey, and trust me, you're going to relate to some of these. When I was first trying to train my brain to think directly in English, I remember one funny but very painful moment. I was at a little cafe here in town, trying to order a sandwich. Simple, right? Except my brain was doing gymnastics inside my head. I was standing there thinking, okay, sandwich, how do I say that in English? Oh wait, that's already English, but how do I ask politely? What's the sentence structure again? Should I say I want or can I have? Meanwhile, the waiter was just standing there, smiling politely, waiting. I could feel my face getting hot. I was panicking inside, translating and retranslating, and all I wanted was a sandwich. In the end, I blurted out something like, "Me, sandwich, please, want." The waiter smiled even bigger and said, "Of course." And I walked back to my table feeling embarrassed but also weirdly proud. Because even though it was messy and awkward, I had spoken directly in English, no full translation. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And that's a huge thing I want you to understand. Fluency isn't about perfection. It's about communication. It's about getting the message across even if it's messy at first. Another example, and this one really helped me, was something I did during my evening walks. I would take 20 minutes every day just walking around my neighborhood. But during those walks, I had a special rule. Think only in English. Even if I was thinking about random things like what groceries to buy or what happened at work, I forced myself to think those thoughts in English. At first, it felt so slow. I was literally talking to myself in my head like a 5-year-old. I need milk, store, later. But I kept going. I didn't allow myself to translate anymore. And slowly, and I mean very slowly at first, my sentences became smoother. My thoughts became faster. It went from I need milk to I need to go to the store later to buy milk. Just like that, the sentences started flowing more naturally. Another thing I want to mention, because it's important, is that mistakes are actually a good sign. If you're making mistakes in English thinking, that means you're actually thinking in English. It means you're no longer depending on your native language to survive. I'll never forget the day I caught myself daydreaming in English without even realizing it. I was sitting on a bus, staring out the window, and halfway through my thoughts, I realized, wait a minute. I'm thinking in English right now. It was wild. And it didn't happen because I forced myself to be perfect, it happened because I kept showing up for those little, daily moments. So what's the lesson here for you? You need to give yourself permission to be messy. Practice direct English thinking even when it feels awkward. Celebrate every little win, even the silly ones. Keep showing up, especially on days when it feels slow. Because trust me, if you stay consistent, you will have your own moment, maybe at a cafe, maybe during a walk, maybe on a bus, where you realize, wow, I'm really thinking in English now. And that, my friend, is a moment you'll never forget. Alright, up next, we're going to dive into the common mistakes people make when trying to think in English and how to avoid them so you can reach fluency faster and with way less frustration. Awesome! Here's number 5 structure, continuing everything exactly as we've been doing. Solo podcast, Emma speaking. Personal storytelling included. Very engaging and detailed. Topic: how to train your brain to think in English and stop translating from native language. How to train your brain to think in English. Number 5 structure. Discuss common mistakes and how to avoid them. Emma. Now, let's talk about something that could secretly be slowing you down and maybe even frustrating you without you realizing it. The common mistakes people make when trying to think in English. And of course, I made all of them, so if you recognize yourself here, don't worry, you're not alone at all. Mistake number 1. Trying to translate word for word from your native language. This is probably the biggest trap. At the beginning of my journey, I used to think, okay, I'll just take the sentence from my language and find the English word for every part. And oh my goodness, it was a disaster. Because languages don't work that way. Word order, expressions, even the emotions behind words, they are different. One embarrassing moment I'll share. I was trying to compliment a friend's cooking, and I translated a phrase directly from my language into English. It came out as, "Your food killed me." I meant it in a good way, like it was amazing, but in English, it sounded like I was dying from food poisoning. We laughed so hard, but it made me realize. Translation is not the answer. Instead, you have to learn to think with the logic and feeling of English, not just the words. Mistake number 2. Waiting until you feel ready before speaking or thinking. Please don't fall into this trap. I wasted months waiting for a day when I would magically feel ready, fluent, confident. Spoiler alert, that day never comes until you start practicing before you feel ready. When I decided to think in English even when I felt like a total beginner, that's when everything started changing for me. Mistake number 3. Being afraid of making mistakes. This is a huge one. And trust me, I get it. There's something very scary about thinking or speaking and knowing you might sound weird. I used to get so anxious that I would freeze. But here's the thing. Fluency grows from mistakes, not from perfection. Mistakes are like muscles, the more you make them and recover, the stronger your English thinking becomes. One thing that helped me personally was actually celebrating my mistakes. Whenever I realized I said something wrong or weird, I would smile and say to myself, "Good job, Emma. That means you're working your brain in a new way." It sounds silly, but it made me much less scared and much more persistent. Mistake number 4. Thinking that you need to study more before you can practice. This one almost stole my progress. I kept buying books, watching grammar videos, memorizing vocabulary lists, but I wasn't actually using English actively in my head. Learning isn't just about absorbing information, it's about using it. Even if you know only 100 words, you can still start thinking in English today. So how can you avoid these mistakes? Here's what I recommend. Stop translating. Instead, accept simpler, more natural English expressions, even if they're different from your language. Practice thinking every single day, even if you feel silly or slow. Celebrate your mistakes as signs that you're doing real brain work. Use what you already know. Start small. Think about your daily activities. Describe what you see around you, all in English. I want you to know, it's not about being perfect. It's about being persistent. And when you change how you approach thinking, you change your whole journey to fluency. Alright, we've covered a lot so far, right? But don't go anywhere, because next, I'm going to share some practical exercises you can start using immediately to build your brain's English thinking power. Trust me, you're going to love these, and they'll make a real difference. Now let's make it super real. Because information is powerful, but action is what truly transforms you. So right here, right now, I want to give you some practical exercises that I personally use to train my brain to think in English, and that you can start using today too. When I first began this journey, I knew I had to build habits, not just motivation. And these exercises were absolute game changers for me. Alright, let's dive in. Exercise 1. The 1-minute mind talk. Every morning, before I even touched my phone or got out of bed, I challenged myself to spend 1 minute thinking in English about anything. How I felt, what I dreamed about, what my plans for the day were. At first, it was messy. I would get stuck. I would forget simple words. But after a few weeks, it became natural. And it only took 1 minute. If you do this every day, you're giving your brain the signal. Hey, English is part of my real life now. And it starts adapting naturally. Exercise 2. Label your world. This one's fun. Wherever you are, your room, your kitchen, your office, start naming things in English in your mind. Chair, table, window, pen, coffee mug. When I was learning, I even stuck little sticky notes on objects with their English names. It felt a bit silly, but it made me think in English visually and physically, not just theoretically. And the best part? You don't need to be perfect, you just need to start noticing and connecting. Exercise 3. The inner commentator game. Pretend you're a sports commentator, but for your own life. Describe what you're doing out loud or silently in English. Emma is walking to the kitchen. She is making tea. She chooses the green mug today. This simple habit trained my brain to narrate life in English without translating. It started feeling so natural after a while, almost like a fun internal movie with English subtitles. Exercise 4. Microjournaling. At the end of each day, I wrote 3 to 5 sentences about my day in English. It didn't have to be poetic or impressive, just honest. For example, today was sunny. I went for a walk. I felt tired but happy. I need to sleep early tonight. This daily reflection not only improved my vocabulary, it also helped me form sentences directly in English, not through translation. Exercise 5. Visual thinking prompts. Pick a random picture, maybe from Instagram, Pinterest, or a magazine, and spend 2 minutes describing what you see, what's happening, what might happen next. Doing this helped me learn to think creatively in English without falling back on my native language. You see, these exercises aren't complicated. They're tiny, almost invisible practices. But they rewire your brain. Little by little, day by day, until thinking in English isn't something you try to do, it's just who you are. When I look back at my journey, these simple habits were like magic seeds. And the beautiful thing is, you can start planting yours today. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to wait. You just have to be willing. And your future fluent self will thank you for it. Alright, in the final part of today's podcast, I'm going to give you a motivational send-off. The big mindset shifts you need to fully commit to thinking in English for life. It's powerful, so don't miss it. Alright, my friend. We've walked through a lot today. We've talked about how the brain works, why translating holds you back, the power of immersion, how to build real habits, and practical exercises you can start today. But before I let you go, I want to speak to your heart for a moment. Because here's the truth. Learning to think in English is not just a skill. It's an identity shift. It's you stepping into a version of yourself that you haven't fully met yet. A braver, freer, more connected version. I remember when I was in the thick of it. Making mistakes, feeling frustrated, doubting if I would ever get it. I almost gave up so many times. It felt like I was trying to climb a mountain barefoot, in the dark. But what I didn't realize back then was that every small effort, every messy sentence I tried to form, every time I paused to find a word, every moment I chose English even when it was hard, I was building something beautiful inside me, something strong, something that could never be taken away. And that's what I want for you. Today might be the day you feel slow. Today might be the day your brain feels tired. Today might be the day you feel like you'll never stop translating. But listen carefully. It's not about how perfect you are today. It's about how willing you are to stay in the game. To show up for yourself even when it's messy. To believe that your brain is capable of transformation, because it is. The world you dream of, where you speak and think freely in English, where you feel confident and natural. That world is waiting for you. It's real. And it's closer than you think. But you have to reach for it. Every day. In the small moments, in the ordinary days. Because transformation doesn't happen in one giant leap. It happens in 1,000 tiny steps. So here's my challenge to you today. Choose one exercise. Just one. Commit to doing it every day for the next 30 days. Even if it's for just 1 minute. Even if you miss a day and start again. Make it your secret promise to yourself. I am becoming a thinker in English. I am building my future fluency, one thought at a time. And one day, maybe sooner than you expect, you'll look back and realize you don't have to translate anymore. Because English has become a part of you. And that, my friend, will be one of the greatest victories of your life. You've got this. I believe in you. Now go. And start thinking your dreams into reality. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If you enjoyed this podcast, share it with someone who needs this encouragement too. And remember, every thought matters. Every effort counts. And you are already on your way. Until next time. This is Emma, cheering you on.